Fuck these niggas, man. Suck my dick.
Yo, yo, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. So we have some protesters coming down Washington Avenue onto Atlantic Avenue. This is a few blocks away from the Barclays Center here in Brooklyn. Protesters have been, there have been multiple groups of protesters. What? Sure. Cuomo said as press that I'm allowed to be out as an essential worker. Huh? Okay, yeah. I'm independent. Thank goodness, right?
Hey, Danny, I'm on the other side.
If you guys need me to move at any time. If you guys need me to move at any time. Yeah, thank you. If at any moment, please let me know. All right, baby, let's...
They're on the sidewalk. Yeah, I'm on the other side of it. On the other side. All right. Okay. All right.
All right. All right, then a little improv right in front of the police. Let's get in there now. We're footmen. Lowly squires here out on the street. Some other press. Police dispersing. We have a helicopter above. That's it. That's just a street light. That's the helicopter. The helicopter's shining on us for a moment. Curfew passed a few hours ago. Look, there's a cop protecting my bike. I was debating not live streaming because the protest isn't extremely lively. But these officers are announcing over the loudspeaker that protesters who don't abide by Bill de Blasio's curfew orders are liable to be arrested. We haven't seen any arrests occur in this area, but we have seen arrests occur in different parts of Brooklyn. There were just a dozen or so arrests in Williamsburg. I believe there were also additional arrests in the city. Police are giving the protesters ample opportunity to disperse before I think they're going to move in on a few protesters who decide not to disperse. Down this block, there are protesters slowly dribbling back out. Back out of the little nook and crannies over here. And we have NYPD lined up over here waiting for them to come. And as soon as they come... Thank you. So it's being recommended for us to stay on the middle overpass. We can go over there. I think she was just giving me a polite recommendation because she cared about my safety.
Oh, but nobody got arrested yet?
Not over here, nobody got arrested.
Oh.
Right. So some protesters are heading towards, what did I say, the Barclays Center, which is like half a mile up down the road over here. The night is still relatively young. What is it? Only 10:30. This is 2.5 hours after the curfew officially started. Begs the question, what is the curfew really for? All right, protesters are coming out with their hands up. Hey everyone, be sure to give the stream a big thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithm that stays screwing over the channel. So your support via subscribing and liking and tuning in really helps the channel's the algorithm with the channel, etc, etc. All that bullshit. YouTube really makes me slut it up for the algorithm here. Slut it up for some love from you guys. Oh look, here, Antifa lovers.
Going this way, you'll get there.
Let's see, are there more protesters down here that aren't moving? It seems that there were also police officers behind the protesters, kind of escorting them out from behind. Here is those tail end amount of protesters. At this point, many times during the night, the police were outnumbered by the protesters, but for at least this part of the evening, the protesters are heavily outnumbered now by the police officers. So the night is definitely a lot more calm than previous nights have been. There have been no lootings tonight. There have been no NYPD vans set on fire. A few nights ago, there were multiple NYPD vans that were set on fire. Somebody's asking you, isn't there a curfew? Let me tell you something, guys. Not one person New York City gives a shit about the curfew. Not one protester, rather. Not one person considering protesting gives one shit about the curfew. All right, let's pick up the bike and go up the street to Atlantic Terminal. So officers were nice enough to protect my bike. I believe they're going to Atlantic Terminal, which is up the block. So I was actually at Atlantic Terminal right before the stream. There's probably like 60, 70, 80 cops over there. That's really all I saw when I was there. So let's go back and see what's going on. Going from protest live streams to chill biking live streams with your boy. You could hear the police sirens behind us. The police are following this group now, making it their way. Chance of fuck you. Lots of undercovers. But this group only seems maybe 100, 200 strong, with people slowly, making their way back home. It seems like generally the NYPD has the situation under control, and this is obviously in contrast to previous nights where I thought the NYPD had zero control of the city. At certain points in the night, earlier this week, I was spending 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes outside of certain stores that were being looted, waiting for a conflict to occur, for the NYPD to show up and a conflict to occur, and I had to leave because the NYPD just never showed up. I was watching Dolce & Gabbana get looted for half an hour. Police never showed up. So certain stores were being looted, vans were being set ablaze, but compared to those nights that we've been seeing earlier this week, the NYPD really got their shit together, or more likely the protests have died down more than anything. Earlier in the evening, there was a different group called Decolonize This Place. That's a little bit more radical. Yeah. Not yet. So yeah, there was another group called Decolonize This Place. Those are the people who usually call me out at certain events. And they know who I am. I didn't go to that event, not because of that, but because it's in the Bronx. The barely informed with a lot of tentacles here in New York City only reach so far. And I mean, yeah, so the tentacles only reach so far. Your boy's not, I'm not a Bronx boy, I'm a Brooklyn boy, and that's why we're here near the Barclays Center. But there were like mass arrests over there earlier in the evening, and it seemed as though the police treated those protesters a little bit differently than they've been treating the other protesters, and that was quelled very quickly by the NYPD. Yeah, okay, so are they coming or not? So indecisive, so slow. Why don't these guys all have e-bikes? You're gonna have to take my word for it. They're going to show up. Let's go ahead of the pack and let me show you guys what's going on. Actually, should we leave them? Yeah, let's leave them for a minute. Let me show you guys 2 blocks up where these protesters, I believe, are making their way to at the Barclays Center, where there is a huge police presence. To my left, there's some police lined up on some streets, blocking traffic. That would be ongoing, or rather blocking the direction that the protests may go. Behind Barclays Center, there are some police set up as well. So there is a strong police presence there, which you guys will see shortly. Zoom, 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 zoom. And then, I mean, all these other cars, these aren't pedestrian cars. All these other cars are undercover cops. Let's see, so they're all trying to some protesters up here. There's some more NYPD to my left. And I'm not sure what the aim of those protesters are at this point, because I don't know if they're planning on trying to occupy any part of the Barclays Center here up but I know here are the police officers. I don't know if the protesters 3-1. Oh my goodness, look at all these cops. All these cops are not only getting hazard pay, but they're also getting overtime. Look at this. It's like a cop party. It's like I pulled up to a cop wedding right now. How many police officers? I'm not sure that they didn't rent out the Barclays Center space for an event. They might be having a cop event. How many police officers are here? Look at that. So I don't know what the goal is of these protesters. It would be silly of them to come to the Barclays Center, which is the direction they were coming. That's the only real landmark. Here, let me just, we're wrapping around. This is the Barclays Center. They play like basketball games here. They have some NBA games here. I read somewhere, I think the NBA might be coming back. Look at all these guys. Law enforcement. Sorry. Let's go over here. Here's a protester or two. But the other night here, there was complete chaos. Here, I believe, is one of the protesters. More cops. More cops. There's also a subway station here at Barclays Center that's being shut off by the police. Here you could see graffiti on the ground. It says Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Do you know if the protesters are coming here?
So the last I saw of them, they were down
Out there.
Oh, sorry,
Says defund the police. We keep us safe. Black Lives Matter. George Floyd. My daddy changed the world. I think that's a Deaf Lives Matter. And here is a little memorial. Let's set up. To my left, I believe protesters. Here, there's some other message chalked here on the ground here at Barclays Center. We have some more protesters arriving. I believe this is the first set of protesters. I wonder if they're going to arrest them. I wonder if they're going to say enough is enough right now. I hear a helicopter. Our tax dollars are also paying for the helicopter. All this stuff. All right, come on, guys. What's taking these guys so long? So, no, I didn't witness any looting tonight. I didn't see any reports of looting. I only saw a few minor reports of arrests. So it does seem like the worst is behind us in regard to the George Floyd protests, at least in New York City, at least from what I have seen. I don't know what things are looking like in Washington, D.C. I heard D.C., there's supposed to be big protests there as well. I heard they brought in, new walls to put around the White House, and they were taking many precautions. So I don't know how things are looking in Washington, D.C., but otherwise, I think things are looking pretty, tame. Law and order, it seems, has been restored to the greater New York City area. The NYPD was messing around the first few nights, but not anymore. Let's see if these people ever show up. Maybe we'll get one arrest. It's a lot in the boys. Okay, I think I hear him coming. No, that just looks like more police vans for now. Again, note National Guard. De Blasio turned down requests from Cuomo and I believe Donald Trump to bring in the National Guard, but de Blasio didn't see it was fit, and apparently we didn't need the National Guard here. Here, I think I see a few guys pulling up. Yeah, I mean, the NYPD is outnumbering the protesters at least 5-1. All right, it looks like we're pulling out. Thumbs up, baby. Here's some of the protesters. It's a protester complying with police. Alright, the protesters are peaceful. Walking side by side by the police department, where they're probably yelling some obscenities at them. At this point, I'm gonna try to give a little estimate. Here's, I want to say the front. There's maybe another 30 or so stragglers. A low amount of people, not causing a lot of havoc. I think this really comes down to whether or not the NYPD wants to follow these protesters around for the next hour or so and then have them eventually dissipate, or if they want to arrest them. But that would kind of make a scene, and there's been so much politics surrounding all of these protests, which is really some mind-numbing stuff. There was also so much politics surrounding the reopened protests, and when you try to compare the two, it's really very astonishing. Obviously, George Floyd died under horrible circumstances, but many in the media and many in the left wing were extremely paranoid about any, near person-to-person contact. There have been large groups of protesters here. The NYPD's been in close contact. You'll see an occasional PPE, an occasional person with masks, but it'll be an interesting case study to see whether or not there will be a large
fight.
Who do you stand for? Who do you love?
I love y'all.
Who do you love? Who do you go home to? What is the answer you give them when you find out that they're brothers?
I was going to say, it's going to be an interesting case study to see whether or not we see an explosion of cases where there were protests, because that's what a lot of people were talking about in regard to the reopened protests originally. We'll see if people give these protests the same amount of nuance that they did to the other protests, right? Because the reopened protests were supposed to spread the coronavirus a ton. These protests for George Floyd have been a lot more widespread. We'll see if this also spreads COVID-19 much. I don't know where these guys are going. Is that it? Are you guys done for the night?
We're trying to be behind the group at any point, but yes.
Done for the
Seems to be the end.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, everybody, so behind me, we have the Barclays Center. It seems as though the protests are dwindling down, and not only tonight are they dwindling down, it seems as though they're dwindling down altogether throughout the United States. I'm going to be doing some research when I get home to see how the protests were looking at other locations, but I think we're going to be calling it a night here in New York City. Maybe I'll give you a little bonus content, a little bungus content right now. Yeah, so I think that about does it for tonight's events. I wanted to thank you guys for tuning into the live stream. Again, the protests seem to be dying down, which is, I mean, maybe a bad thing for the channel, but a good thing for the country, so we are very happy about it. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to be doing more live streams if there are more protests, or I'll be doing more live streams, really regardless of just me talking. So be on the lookout for both of those. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until next time, stay barely informed. Peace, guys. Have a good night.